So now that we've had an introduction to the three main social sciences that we'll look at in the course, we'll take a quick look at the methodology or the methods in which social scientists complete their work. And within the social sciences, there are three key methodological approaches. And methodological, it sounds like a big word. It's really just talking about the methods, and methodology and methodological all come from the word method. So don't be intimidated by this word. So you don't really need to fill in the blanks here. These are just sample questions here that the given methodological approach will ask. So you don't need to necessarily fill these in. I'm just going to give examples. So the first methodological approach is the positivist approach. And in a positivist approach, the key word here is predict. So when you hear positivist, think prediction. So the purpose of positivist research is to predict behavior. Okay, so looking for an element of prediction. Okay, so what factors are most important between technology and learning? They're trying to predict if technology in the classroom continues to increase, what will that do to our learning? What factors are most important between sleep and mental health? Okay, and maybe correlating the idea that optimum health requires 8 hours sleeping. So trying to hypothesize the more sleep you have to a point would correlate to better mental health. What is the relationship between, sleep and mental health? What is the relationship between exercise and grades? What is the relationship between socioeconomic status, so how much income you make, and education level? Okay, so trying to predict what that relationship might be. Or simply, is the popularity of Facebook rising or falling? Is the popularity of Twitter rising or falling? So you're looking for an element of prediction. At some point, I'm going to ask you I'll give you an issue, and then what would a positive ask? So if you put the word prediction or imply the word prediction in your question, you're going to get it right. So this is maybe not as difficult as it seems. Okay, interpretive. The key word here is meaning. And it's very much like the symbolic interactionist approach. So to provide an adequate reflection of people's experience of the social. Okay, so what's going on, and what is it like to be a teacher? What does it mean to have a shoulder touch? What does it mean to have a first date kiss? What is it like to be a parent? What is it like to be a Facebook friend? What does it mean to favorite a tweet? Does it mean acknowledge? What does it actually mean? How does social media influence people's lives? How does income influence people's lives? So looking for the meaning. What is social media's role in society? Imagine if Twitter went down, or sometimes cell service goes down and we think it's the end of the world. I actually thought I lost my phone yesterday, and there was some mild anxiety happening. And then worst case scenario, well, I have so many documents on my BlackBerry. What would I do if I lost it? So it's just interesting of what role our smartphones play in society and our own lives. So when you think interpretive, think meaning. Final one is critical, and when you think critical, you got to think inequality. And the purpose of their research is to improve the conditions of the oppressed, to improve people who are outside of the majority. So essentially anyone outside, and maybe this will change decades from now, but anyone who's not essentially a white male from the upper middle class, you could ask a question about. So from a vantage point of feminism, vantage point of visible minorities, different religions, different sexual orientations. Okay, so how can conditions improve for these maybe alienized groups, or groups that are outside of, well, essentially white heterosexual males from the upper to middle class? So here's some examples. How can affirmative action lead to a more just society? How can, and maybe in Quebec, and I know this is really controversial, as they're trying to ban religious symbols if you're a public service worker. So how can the banning of religious symbols lead to a more just society? That's the question they're asking. They're not making a judgment necessarily, because some people think it might go the other way. How are women oppressed in society? How are African Americans? How are First Nations people? What role does education have in creating inequalities? What role does politics have in creating inequalities? And you can look at the composition of our parliament in Ottawa, and how many are male, how many are female. And I'd be really interested to look at the ethnicity of our 300 plus members of parliament to see, and do these things, how does that come across in terms of promoting inequalities or promoting a more just society? Okay, so when you think critical, think inequality. When you think interpretive, think what is the meaning. And when you think positive, think predict. So we're going to look at 3 different social, I don't know if I should have said social concern, but maybe something worth studying. Adoption rates, internet use, and an aging population. So we're looking to create questions that a positivist would ask, an interpretive would ask, and a critical methodologist, critical scientist, I guess, would say. So let's do adoption together. And when I say together, I guess it's just me, because this is a one-way conversation. So, adoption rates. Think, predict. Will adoption rates increase with our rising rate of infertility? So later on, of course, we'll understand that our infertility rate is increasing in Canada. About 1 in 5 couples are infertile in Canada for a number of reasons. Will adoption rates then go up because our fertility is going down? It's an element of prediction. Does adoption rates increase with a rise in income? Interpretive. We're just thinking of the meaning here. What does it mean to be adopted? What is it like to be an adopted child? How is their life different? How is their perception different? That being said, what is it like to be a parent who adopts? And does society judge you differently, or how does that work? And then in terms of inequality, do same-sex couples have the same access to adoption as heterosexual couples? Do First Nations people have the same access to adopt as white couples do? Or even do adopted kids or adopted children face any barriers in equality? Are they judged differently? Okay, so try the idea of internet use and aging population, and keep this in your notes. Okay. Again, what we're really trying to do here is we're trying to almost put on a different pair of glasses in multiple scenarios. So we're trying to put on our sociology glasses and look at an issue and think, how does a sociologist see this? Or you put on your sunglasses that are the glasses of a psychologist, and how does a psychologist see this? It's kind of based on the idea of Atticus Finch, where he said we need to walk in the shoes of someone else for a mile to really understand what they're going through. So it's either walking in the shoes or putting on the glasses or seeing it from a different perspective. So put on your positive glasses. What do they see? Put on your interpretive glasses. What do they see? And put on your critical glasses, or put on your critical shoes and see what they see. So hopefully that helps explain it. And I hope these podcasts are working for you rather than just providing you with texts. Thank you.